Hey, I'm Sam. Very noisy here, but I thought I'd begin where I haven't been for quite a while, and it's this beautiful waterfall. Just look at this tree, barely clinging on. So it's very early, as you can see by the light. The sun isn't quite up high in the sky yet. Beautiful colours of decay, autumn. It's been very mild so far, which is why autumn has been longer than usual. Usually it's just this really brief, wild interlude between summer and winter, but this autumn's been quite mild, quite long. It's lovely. Okay, let's go into the quiet. That's better. So, yeah, for the last week, and those people that watch my videos know that I go through a process to make each video, and gradually spiraling in on something essential that's underneath what I'm trying to say, but what I'm trying to say is usually in the way, and so I go through a process of just gradually letting go of what I think I should be saying or what I want to say, and then I find my way to the essence of what it is I'm trying to communicate. So I've been trying to make this video for about a week, and every day coming up this hill, there's the tree that's barely clinging onto the overhang, and there's a little nook this side of it. And so I've been walking up and down this hill and walking into the woods, just, you know, talking to the camera, trying to get to what it is that I think needs to be said. And I've been struck, I don't know why, because I walk in these woods, you know, most days, but particularly over the last week, I've been struck by, as I passed all these little spots where I used to sit and record, just how long I was desperately trying to work out what it was I was going through, and just, you know, sitting, talking to the camera, trying to make sense out of basically a breakdown, a disintegration of identity. And you know, it's taken 10 years, and I would not want to go through 1 second of it again. But the last few months have been miraculous, and I want to talk about it in this video. This thing that we call healing but isn't, and I think people find it challenging when I say that. Nothing is healed. Nothing is healed. No wound is repaired. Nothing. Because we need to hold on to the idea that this, you know, abstract concept, healing, is possible, and we need to hold on to the idea that we're making progress on that path of healing. But I think healing is the wrong word. Healing is the wrong word. It's transformation. It is transformation. It's the transformation of how you conceive of yourself, who you are, how you fit into the world, what the world is. The transformation of your ability to live in relationship. Everything changes. Everything changes. The person you thought you were though still present, in a way falls into the background. And you exist on the boundary between the stillness within which everything arises. And this person with a story, with a history of pain and suffering, desperation, anguish, conflict. This defines the journey. It's all still there. It's all still there. Where is our attention? It's not looking through the magnifying glass of hyper self-consciousness, criticism. You don't need to do that anymore. Attention is in the world. It's in a relationship. And in relationship, where are you? It's not about what you want. It's not even about you. It's other-centered attention to discovery. So it's not healing. You know, I've said this before. If anything, you become far more intimately aware. You understand on a whole new level where the trauma you experienced that defined your life, where that lives in you. Intimate detail of the pain, of the longing, of the loss. Understanding of how fear controlled your life. You see it all. But who suffers? Who suffers? Who desires? Who fears? Who longs for peace and contentment? Who is it that holds on to this idea that if I do something, everything's going to be alright? If I can fix myself, if I can just get it right, everything's going to be okay. And when I get it right, when I am right, when I'm not wrong anymore, everything's going to be okay. My life is going to be what I want it to be. No. So who holds on to that dream? Who holds on to that coping strategy? Self. The very self that's trying to achieve all these things, that's trying to fix itself, that thinks something's wrong in the first place, spinning around in its own hall of mirrors, seeing everything it hates, everything it rejects, everything it's disgusted by, judgment, criticism, self-hate, self-blame, shame. Trying to balance all of that, trying to remedy it before you actually show up. So who suffers? Self. Who lives in all that complexity, looking at it through a magnifying glass all the time? Self. So the transformation is radical acceptance, is surrender. See yourself clearly. Let go of every last coping strategy. So, you know, I say these things because I've been through it. And the transformation is ongoing, of course. It's not an event. But, you know, it's agony. It's agony. It's a prolonged agony. Because the reason we become who we become, the reason we make up all these, we hold on to all these ideas and strategies and coping mechanisms is because we're too terrified to actually be in the world, not trying to control, not trying to manipulate, just to be here in raw, naked vulnerability, powerlessness. We're too terrified of that because of the environment we grew up in. Hostility. So we need this framework. So the deconstruction of all of that is a long process, and it's agony. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. Because you need to hold on to the illusion of control. to cope with the terror of whatever you went through as a child. And it is terror, no matter what you went through, no matter what form of hostility, even the gentle erosion of your sense of self through narcissistic parents, the confusion of that distortion, persistent, always there, or overt, abuse, violence, sexual violence. It's all terror. It's the terror of being alone. It's the terror of having no stable, safe place. You are alone. You are alone. And you are alone. You are alone. Even now you're alone. But when you start to see yourself in your frailty and flaws, when you see that fear in the darkest abyss of sorrow, you will find the deepest compassion. You will find the deepest compassion. And you are that compassion. Both the sorrow and the compassion live in the same space, and that space is you. But until you acknowledge that sorrow, that loss, that aloneness, you're not going to find the compassion. You're not going to become that compassion, become the kindness within. The sorrow of the self can be held in tender care. So this is how I feel. This is how I really feel. The scream of anguish inside me. It's been there all my life. That's how I feel. The injustice of abuse. The terror of isolation and aloneness. That's how you feel. But you are the compassion within which the self that wants to heal, the self that wants this abstract idea of peace and contentment. You are the space within which that can be held gently. So what marks this transformation really is the absence of conflict. It's the absence of conflict. We feed the conflict inside us by our incessant focus on all the things that we're trying to change and fix. I do not accept this. I do not accept that. It's cruelty, it's self-cruelty. You are here. You are flawed. You are scared. You can't deny that. So really, the whole process is invited by you. It's initiation, self-directed initiation into more truthful presence, truthful relationship, acceptance. It's just no longer refusing life. No longer trying to get everything on your terms. And initiations involve a death, a symbolic death, and there is no greater symbolic death than the shift in focus from the self of self-centeredness to the self that lives in relationship, that wants nothing, doesn't need to judge, doesn't need to criticize, doesn't refuse, accepts everything. And that's life. Life is waiting. Life is waiting. And when you see it all, you realise that nothing changes. You can't change the past. You can't take away any of those awful memories and experiences. You can't. You feel them more deeply. You feel them more deeply in compassion. But your capacity to feel when we gradually open to the things we don't want to feel, your capacity to feel broadens. I've talked about this in the past. Our bandwidth increases, and we can be found by reality then. We're not in this tiny kind of window of presence on the world. We're here. And it just broadens and broadens and broadens. And in a sense, you disappear. You disappear. So it's not healing, it's disappearance, it's becoming, it's transformation. We can't experience things. We can't experience other people. We can't experience this moment until we stop judging. Until we stop confining and criticizing and placing demands and conditions. Because that's exactly what we do to ourselves. As within, so without. The conflict inside becomes the conflict in your life. End that conflict through radical acceptance, compassion, kindness. And the world will find you in a different way. Life lives you, not the other way around. And the meaning you'll find, beyond these things that we think we want, the life we think we need, the meaning of your existence, the purpose of, why you're here, it just reveals itself in the tiniest of ways, in the most humble of ways. There's nothing grand or spectacular you need to do, just show up. Show up. And see where life takes you. See what's wanted from you. But we can't do that when we're just trapped in here, in self. So, that's happening for me now. After 54 years of desperation and conflict. Gentleness. Tender care for yourself. That's where it begins. So, I meant to say thank you at the beginning of this video, because so often I get to the end of a video and I forget to say thank you. But thank you to everybody that shows yourself in the comments and says, here I am, in that vulnerability of showing up. These are my thoughts, these are my feelings, this is my experience. Thank you to everyone that participates in this channel, because I would have stopped doing this a long time ago if every time I reached that point and I said, fuck, I can't do this anymore. When I was in the midst of that deconstruction, in that agony, and I would say to myself, I can't do this anymore. And invariably, every single time I reached that point, there would be an email from somebody saying, these videos really helped me, thank you. And so, all those people that participate in this are the inspiration that keeps me going. And, we're in it together, we really are. So thank you. And thank you to everybody that confides in me and emails, and do my best to answer them as honestly as I can. And a huge thank you to those that donate as well, because that makes a difference. I think that's it. So, transformation. In the depths of your own sorrow, you'll find the deepest compassion. Okay. I'll see you soon. Bye.